Hey everyone, welcome to the Otherz podcast. I am your host, Stephen Penny. Joining me this week from other parts of the USA, I seem to be doing a USA tour at the moment. Right. We are in Detroit this week, and joining me is Anthony. How you doing, man?
What's going on, boss?
So people may know you by your name and your voice, they may not. But I think most people that listen to this will actually know you by your Instagram handle, which is
StarTrakWorld.
Yes, you are one of the OGs as well.
Appreciate that. Not to be confused with StarTrakNERD, who also is an OG and an amazing place to find content. So make sure you check him out too. I like to spread the love.
We got the shout outs 30 seconds in. That's good. But yeah, so thanks for joining me this week, mate. We are going to talk about Maybe. So I think this is our first song from Fly or Die, if memory serves me correctly. Everything's been a bit of a blur the last kind of few weeks and couple of months with the holiday season here, but I think this is our first one from Fly or Die. So before we get into the song, as this is our first Fly or Die track, your thoughts on the album itself? I think we've talked about the albums and stuff away from the podcast privately, but yeah, let's get your general opinion.
Fly or Die is my favorite N.E.R.D
album.
I'll just go on record already as saying that. I think partly because that's actually when that was kind of like my introduction to N.E.R.D. I had heard some of the tracks off of In Search Of before Fly or Die released, but that was the first album of theirs that I actually went and bought a couple copies of, and that it was love at first sight. I think for me, that's my favorite album.
It's definitely a strong album.
Yeah.
I think I've probably undersold my love for it in the past, I think, but just going back through it again recently and listening to a lot of the stuff over again, there's some really, really great standout tracks on there.
Oh, yeah.
And Maybe is actually one of my personal favourites.
Mm-hmm.
A very underrated track, I feel.
And music video.
Yeah, the video is a great video as well. So Maybe itself was released in March 2004. It came out slightly earlier in Europe than it did in the US. So it came out in the UK and peaked at number 25 in the charts and number 31 in Ireland. It then came out in the US slightly later. I don't know the exact date. I don't know if it was weeks or months later, and I don't actually know where it charted. I think it's similar to the UK, if anything. But I say, hit number 25, so I think sort of slightly underrated in my opinion. I don't hear it getting played an awful lot these days. I don't see the video that often or people talking about it, but it's definitely a track I'll go back to regularly.
Yeah.
So we've got, as you mentioned, we've got the video directed by Paul Hunter, who has done many an N.E.R.D and Pharrell video over the years. And we can start by talking about the video itself. I like the kind of the whole design-y aesthetics of the video. It's very you've got a lot of the kind of pastel colours in there, the lime greens, the oranges and stuff, and then you've got this kind of 70s, maybe late 60s, early 70s vibe going on with the design and the furnishings and all those kinds of things. It's like it's a cool throwback, and I think that fits the kind of the sound of the song as well. The sound encompasses a lot of those kind of 60s rock and roll and sort of early 70s rock and roll kind of themes as well.
Right. And it has if you notice, it has the chick from the front video in that video. Yeah. And again with the product placement, man, I mean there's a lot of product placement in the Maybe video. That freaking skateboard, dude, that ice cream skateboard is just so gnarly. I love that.
Yes, I think that's like the very first scene, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it appears a couple more times, but yeah, it's got the cone man on the underside of the skate deck there, which I would kill for these days.
So sick.
And we see a lot of early kind of BBC stuff as well. So we've got a couple of different variants of the the BBC OG logo T-shirt. There's a lime green and white, and then I think it's a white and gold version we see. And then I believe this is the first video where we see some ice creams as well.
Yeah, so now, just off the top of my head, because and they're not blurred out like the like the drop it like
it's hot,
yeah. His
so
fit was amazing in this. Everybody's fit in this was just to the nines, bro. I mean, I love how they're in like the skating rink, and I'm a sucker for silhouettes. So like how there's that red silhouette with the band and the green silhouette, like
the green, yep.
Kind of borrows from, it happened. I don't know what song came out first. I'm pretty sure this one did, but I'm also a big fan of the Speed of Sound music video by Coldplay, and they dabble with silhouettes and colors and stuff like that. And that aesthetic just always I always liked that aesthetic. I think it was pretty cool.
It's a good look, yeah. And there are some really good shots in the video itself, aside from the kind of storytelling side of the video. Shots of the band playing, which look good. They've got that kind of small kind of half pipe kind of thing where they're playing the instruments in with all the kind of psychedelic 60s 70s kind of colors and stuff going on. And again, the fits of them there, I can't remember what Chad's wearing, but Shay's
like
kind of
it's like a button up with it's like over let's see, it's like a button up with he's got a t-shirt on and a button up underneath the t-shirt with like the collar popped out. Very Chad.
Yeah, that's it.
Very Chad.
Yes, very. I think Shay is like top to toe in Bape, and then you've got Pharrell in his kind of military jacket that was kind of that sort of phase around that time, and the baggy jeans. And then I think when he's at the piano, I think it's a cream pair of Diamond and Dollars he's wearing. There's one very quick side-on shot of him there where you can I think just see them at the bottom. They're kind of a white cream colour. The quality of the video wasn't great, but I'm assuming that's the Diamond and Dollars, seeing as he's wearing the black ones later on in the video.
David would know.
Oh, of course he would know, yeah.
And
I'll have to send him a message later.
The legendary Questlove is in that video too, by the way.
Of course, yeah. So Questlove, he's in the video. He's also credited, I believe, for actually playing the drums on the track itself.
Yeah.
As opposed to Pharrell playing them or them being programmed. And also Lenny Kravitz is credited as playing the guitar on this as well, although he doesn't make an appearance in this video. We see him in the Frontin' video, and then he's worked a couple of times with Pharrell over the years. My
personal grail is in this video too.
Which is
the article of clothing that I will never attain, which is the Pharrell Princess Anne High School Letterman. That is hands down my grail, and it's impossible to attain. I'm pretty sure you can't get it.
I remember kind of around the time of this video and stuff, people on the various forums and stuff that we would frequent back then in the early 2000s, desperately being after this jacket that he's wearing, and it's not a BBC piece, it's not a Bape piece or anything like that.
Right.
But people just desperate to get hold of that jacket just because he is wearing it in this video.
Yeah. You just can't.
And I remember a lot of people wearing, after that, a lot of kind of similar, I was going to say knockoffs, not knockoffs, but any kind of red Letterman jacket.
I bought one. Kind of I have one in my closet right now. I can't fit it.
One of
yes,
them.
I have a, it's by the brand 10 Deep. And it's a really sick Letterman, but best believe when I saw it in the stores, I was just like, oh, that's kind of similar. Let me buy that. And I bought it. And I actually enjoy it, but I definitely got my Pharrell on, as you'd say, when I wore that.
It was close enough. So
close enough, yeah.
Yeah. But something I also noticed in this video, as we're talking about the fashion side of things, is I think Pharrell's wearing a Bape pair of jeans. I think somebody will probably correct me and tell me they're not. But just the kind of, we're not that far from 2004. I know it's 14 odd years, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not much. And just how that has changed. You look at those jeans then, and they're big and baggy, and they kind of fall over the top of the shoes, and they look to me now they look odd, especially in the kind of scene where he's walking towards the camera.
Yep.
And he's got those jeans and then the white T-shirt and then that red jacket over the top. And the jeans just look completely out of place, just way too big.
Right.
They're almost like comedy jeans.
Yeah. Times have definitely changed. It's funny how fashion works, like that. Now it's like it can't be tight enough, I'm not into that. I can't. And my wife, she's like, I like my men in normal size jeans. You can't be doing the tight jean thing. And I'm not built for that either, man. I'm not really a skinny dude, so that doesn't really work for me.
Yeah, we need a bit more room, us bigger guys.
Oh, and then Chad's guitar is sick in this video too. Like, it's a clear guitar. I had never seen that before this music video.
Yes, he's playing that, and then Shay is also playing a guitar, isn't he, of some kind, if I remember rightly.
Does he play?
I don't think he actually plays in real life.
Okay.
Well, he may well do, but not that I know of. I've never seen him credited as playing the guitar anywhere, or seeing him on stage playing it or anything. But in different videos, we see him playing different instruments. Yeah, so I think it's just one of those things where, dude, you've got to be playing something. Everyone's playing something. Just pick what you want to play, and just. I mean,
if you really want to know,
like you are.
Sorry, if you really want to know if he can play, just ask Brent. Brent will tell you if he can play or not.
I should message him and ask him.
Yeah, just be like,
I should have actually asked Shay the other week.
Could Shay really play the instrument? Either way, it's dope aesthetic. It looks good for the video either way. So it's cool.
And you got Quest on the drums there with his looking good with his like Mohican there, and very well styled, I think.
That's the man. He'll always be the man.
Yeah, and also what I noticed on the piano that Pharrell is playing, you've got the dog there, which they used in the branding around that time for the album and stuff. But it's a white piano, and then the dog is outlined in green, I think, this time.
That's a first.
Yeah. I think we see it everywhere else as red. And I don't think in any of the promotional stuff or in any other video we see it in any other colour other than the red. So just in this video, it's slightly different. But I think it probably would have looked a bit strange if it was in red in that video, what with the other colours that are going on. Yeah. No, whoever, like you said, the director of the video, he knew what he was doing. We see green quite a lot in this video, kind of that pastel kind of green with the T-shirt and then some of the design stuff and some of the artwork and things like that.
Yeah.
One piece of art that did kind of stand out in the video, and like I don't know the backstory, but I'm sure it has a reason, is in the bedroom there's a picture of like a tiger on the wall, and there's also like a tiger statue as well they've got in one scene. I don't know where that image originally comes from, but when I look at it, I just kind of associate it with like N.E.R.D designs of that kind of time, those early 2000s, by kind of Christian Audiger. And
I fell victim to that for some time.
Oh, no. Luckily, I never did. Not that or Von Dutch or any of that stuff.
Yeah. Well, but, I had a knockoff Von Dutch hat, and I had I actually bought an N.E.R.D trucker, and I had a trucker and a T-shirt. Those are the only articles of N.E.R.D I had, but I rocked those faithfully.
That's too many.
Right.
But yeah, that kind of tiger logo, I think that was kind of being used back then, and now we're seeing it reused on all the kind of popular Gucci stuff at the moment. Very similar tiger motif. So I'm sure there is some backstory to it. If someone knows where that image kind of comes from and that piece of artwork or whatever it is, then do get in touch and enlighten me. But
I never thought about that.
Yeah, it was just something that kind of stands out on the wall in the kind of middle of a frame during the video a couple of times.
And I think the chick that's getting undressed while he's getting undressed and getting ready while Pharrell's getting ready, I think she's wearing like an Abercrombie and Fitch clothes, which is interesting that there's other product placement in the video that's not somehow Pharrell related, And I'm speculating, but I'm going to assume that Varsity A&F stands for Abercrombie and Fitch. I mean, I'm super speculating, but I don't really know
Quite
what
possibly.
else it could be.
Good spot.
Especially around that time. That time, I mean, Abercrombie and Fitch, Hollister, all those type of clothing brands were really popping. Like, everybody was wearing it. So
that's a spot that not even I made. That's why we got you on here.
Hey, man, I enjoy it, man. I enjoy this kind of stuff. This type of nerd, no pun intended, but this type of nerdy conversation. I can talk about this stuff for hours, bro.
Yeah. And there's kind of one other thing I've got here in my notes about the video, and I've mentioned this on a previous podcast, and it happens in a couple of videos. Is it like, I think it's about 2:37, 2:38 through the video. It goes to like an instrumental break, and instead of cutting to a piece of video of some kind, it cuts to Pharrell stood in that skating rink just by himself, and he has this weird kind of shuffle or jump that he kind of does, because there's no, there's a lot of drums going on, there's no kind of real beat to dance to, and it just stands out as a very awkward kind of scene in there. I'm not quite sure why they left it in.
What part of the video was that?
That table looks amazing, isn't it?
Oh, I'm gonna look it up. That was I started looking up the video. My bad.
I'm gonna leave that in the edit.
Yeah.
God knows what else you're watching, but yeah, at the it's at about 2:36, 2:37, I think, in the video.
I'm gonna check that out.
And he goes to like a little instrumental break, and he's just stood there by himself in the little kind of roller rink place or whatever it is. Just with him in the shot.
Yeah.
And he's just kind of awkwardly bobbing about and dancing, and it's one of those shots where I wonder why it was left in there.
I don't know, man. It's weird though, because if you think about it, like, Pharrell's always been like, I don't think anyone really coined P as being like an amazing dancer / like performer via like movement. He's just like, even with the the shoulder shrug and the stuff that Tyler the Creator like emulates even to this day in his like videos and stuff. It's just, that's P, man. Like, that's his style. It's just awkward but cool. Like, it just works.
Yeah,
it's hard to explain.
Yeah, I don't know if it works necessarily in this video, but
maybe not in this video, but overall,
in general,
yes. Yeah, no, go ahead. Sorry, man.
No, go on.
No, I was just saying, this song it definitely is a standout on the record in itself. I mean, it was without looking at the playlist in front of me, let's see, or the track list, it was the standout song. Oh no, She Wants to Move was the leading joint, but this was like a close second, probably.
Yeah, and it's, like I said, it's an underrated song, I think. I think if you listen to it and you listen to it loudly, it's a very almost anthemic kind of song. It's got that kind of big chorus, and then it kind of comes down into the verses, and it's quite kind of slow, then builds up and comes down and builds up and comes down, and yeah, like I say, I still listen to this one regularly. It's one of my favorites. Yeah,
it ages. That's another thing about this album. It aged extremely well.
Which I find quite surprising, because there's a few things on there, like I think it might be Jump with the Madden Brothers. That was kind of very of its time, like the Madden Brothers and that kind of punk pop rock music.
Yeah.
Which in general I don't think has aged very well over the years. You look back at a lot of that stuff now, and it's just like, oh Christ, what are people listening to?
I think you guys.
But there's a lot of that on the album, and even that song itself still sounds okay nowadays.
Yeah. It'd be a good live song.
Yes.
Yeah, it'd be a good live joint. But every other song on that album, I mean, it holds up. Like, to this day, I can turn on Breakout. Breakout's kind of like Jump in a way. It kind of has that, kind of jump, kind of jumpy time signature. Forgive me, David. I'm sure you'll be listening, but I'm not hip to all the musical lingo. I'm sure it's not the same time signature, but like, it just has that off-kiltered BPM. I don't know. It's different.
Yeah, I'm just having a quick look at the track listing now, and you've got like Don't Worry About It, which the album starts off with, which is really strong. She Wants to Move, Breakout, and then the brilliant Wonderful Place and Waiting for You, the kind of two songs in one there. We've got Thrasher, maybe, The Way She Dances, and at the end, Chariot of Fire and Find My Way. Two other songs kind of put into one, which were really, really good.
And that's another reason why I really, really like Fly or Die, is because I feel like they were really shoving the secret song down our throat. And I loved the secret songs. Like, they were always like Wonderful Place is great, but Waiting for You is it's just on another level.
Waiting for You is one of those songs where I can listen to it endlessly over and over and over again. It's really, really nice. It's a really beautiful track. But if I actually sit there and listen to it, it's an emotional kind of thing. If you actually think about the content of the song itself,
absolutely,
it's actually quite dark and quite sort of sad. But it is a beautiful kind of song, and it fits in there so well just at the end of that other track.
Yeah, that's definitely one of my favorites. Favorite N.E.R.D. songs, period. And actually, hold on, because I have to look at because the thing that Pharrell always seems to do is, like, you'll have lyrics, like really touching lyrics, like on the hidden song. But let me see something I'm trying to like now. But okay, so like you're listening to this lyric and it's really emotional, it's really like touching. But then he'll throw a line in there like the Michelin Man.
Michelin Man, yes.
And then it throws your whole, like, you're no longer emotional. You're like, did he just say Michelin?
You have that you try to have that mental image of like all this kind of story happening, this tragedy unfolding, and then the Michelin Man. It's like, wait, what?
Yeah, and it really, like, I love that part of the song, but like, I literally, every time I hear it, I see the Michelin Man,
yes,
like swimming.
You can't not, yeah.
It's great. Oh man, but yeah, solid track, man, for sure. Solid. Yeah.
So, have we got anything else about Maybe? Because I'm pretty much through my notes here.
No, other than I think you covered it all. I think you hit kind of a key word about that song, is it is like anthemic. It's just that song that when that chorus is the most important part, even more so. And I hate to say this as a well, no, I don't hate to say this. I like what I like, but as a stan, we all are a sucker for the bridges. But in that song in particular, that maybe vocal is just, when he says maybe, it stands out so much in that song. It's such an important part of the track. But yeah, no, solid track, man.
And what else was I going to say? Oh yes, just also, if I don't mention it, somebody will point it out and say, well, you never mentioned it. There was also the Maybe kind of remix, the Dear Hip Hop remix, where Maybe was used in the intro and the outro, but kind of not in the middle. And Pharrell just kind of rhymes over that for a couple of minutes. And then also this track, now this is, I'd be interested to try and find out which way this came about. The beat is also used on a Lupe Fiasco song.
Yes.
Called And He Gets the Girl, which
I love it.
Never made a Lupe album, but was like the B-side to what's the Neptune's track that he had? I Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was the B-side to that. Then it came out on the album on like an anniversary version or something. I don't know kind of which way this kind of came about, whether they did the track for him originally, then decided they wanted it back, or he heard it, rhymed over it, never made the album, so then they decided to use it maybe.
I think he just did that. I mean, I think he's a fan of Pharrell and all that, and N.E.R.D, so I think he just decided to rap over it.
Yeah, because I think if you listen to that actual track, it doesn't just have the beat, it actually has some of like the ad-libs and stuff in there.
Hold it now.
Of the instrumental. Exactly, yeah. Little bits and pieces dotted throughout, so... Yeah, I guess he probably just got hold of an instrumental version. because they were working together a little bit at that time, so you could easily have had that in the studio at some point.
Well, actually, he didn't even have to really get an instrumental version, because all he did was loop the outro and like the beginning, like drum roll. He didn't even, he could have ripped that just having the song itself. He could have just took out.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
I mean, but that, I love that track. My wife loves that track in particular, and I think it's like, I love the way Lupe gets real specific in that. Talks about his pet name, his parents' name or whatever, and the passwords and all that. That dude's a genius too. Shoot, I could do a whole podcast talking about Lupe Fiasco.
Lupe, I need to get back into. I've not followed him the last few years. He went a bit.
South.
I was going to say weird. South is maybe the right word. And a bit, overly kind of political and just, I just kind of went off a lot of it. But a lot of his early stuff I do still listen to, I have to say.
Right.
All right, so let's move on from maybe, and we can discuss the summer of fun that we're both having. And I guess myself in particular, seeing as I've had quite a lot of comments and questions recently about what I've been up to, and most of this kind of pertains to the interview with Shay. So if you haven't listened to previous episodes of the podcast, go back and check that out. If you're a fan, you'll know that Shay doesn't really do much or any press really, and somehow, for some weird reason, he decided to sit down and talk to me for far too long. So there was that, and also actually just randomly getting to hang out with N.E.R.D, which was a shock and a surprise to me. So I'll try and give the brief version of kind of how this came about, because I think most people just kind of want to know how we sort of made this happen and stuff. But as with any of this stuff, this has kind of been, or it had been in the works for maybe a year or something. When I first started planning this podcast, in fact, and first started having conversations with David and stuff, like maybe nearly a year ago, I reached out to certain people in Pharrell's team and, said we're doing this podcast, and made sure we weren't stepping on any toes and that they were cool with everything, and they said they were. And also mentioned, if we can ever get any of the guys on the podcast, that would be great. Obviously, not imagining that would ever kind of happen. So then progress on to this year when the new album comes out, and I'm speaking to Brent, and Brent thinks they're probably going to go on tour in the summer and do the festivals. So we're kind of going backwards and forwards about whether they're going to come here and the dates and all this kind of stuff, and they end up getting announced here. The band gets confirmed. Brent very kindly sorts myself and my girlfriend and my son out some passes to get there, because the tickets were sold out by then. And I went back to Pharrell's team actually and just said, as you're over here and we're coming to the festival, could we get 5 minutes of Pharrell's time? Now they came back, and obviously they were, unfortunately, he's a very, very busy man. They, at that period, I think they had a gig in another country the day before. They were then flying to London to record, and then they had another show in Barcelona. So they were like, yeah, unfortunately we can't this time, but we can reach out to Chad and Shay's team and see if they could do something. So while I thought that was really helpful and a really nice gesture, I thought it's also a bit of a waste of time, because those guys don't really do any press. When they do, it's normally to the bigger, more well-known publications, solely for kind of promotional purposes for the album, for the tour and stuff. So imagine my surprise when 30 minutes later I get an email back saying Shay has agreed to come and talk. There were certain conditions involved, nothing too special. But there were a few bits and pieces we had to kind of sort out and just kind of align on. So come the time of the festival, we travelled up to Turku. I had a meeting room in a hotel where the band actually were. I panicked because up until the moment my Skype rang, I genuinely thought Shay is never going to do this. Like, no matter what they've said, like,
right.
it just isn't going to happen. Something will go wrong, or something will come up, or whatever. So I was still fairly surprised when he called. We had agreed a time period that the interview would last. It wasn't a very long time period. But Shay did most of the talking, as people would probably hear from the interview. And I just sat there and listened and stared at my screen in awe. But we went I think altogether we went 4 times longer than we should have gone. And I had to end it just so I didn't get in trouble. And
right.
I didn't I didn't have his team being annoyed at me or anyone else annoyed at me. But I think Shay could have
stay in those good graces.
Exactly. And Shay was more than happy to talk. I think he probably, despite being exhausted, I think he could have kind of continued, but I kind of had to wrap it up just to make sure I didn't piss anybody off, basically.
Yeah.
But as kind of part of that conversation, this is another sort of really big surprise to me. I said to Shay, look, we're in the same hotel. Can I ask a small favour? And he was like, ask anything. Yeah, go for it. I said, can I just get a quick picture with you? Just, for the podcast and stuff. And he was like, of course you can. Yeah, not a problem. So I said, when are you free? Can I come up now, or should we arrange a time for later or whatever? And he was like, well, I'll see you at the show, won't I? And I was like, well, I don't know. I've only got VIP passes. So that just gets me into the VIP area at the front of the stage, basically. So I said I can speak to Brent, again, shout out Brent for getting these passes. And I was due to meet Brent at some point anyway. So I said, I can speak to Brent. Brent can maybe give you a shout. We can arrange something. And Shay was like, no, we're not doing any of that. We'll get your passes upgraded. I'll speak to who I need to speak to. Somebody will contact you in 10 minutes.
So dope.
And we will get you access all areas passes. And I was like, oh, okay. Again, thinking will this really happen? Will it not? Meh. We wrap things up. 10 minutes later, I get a message from one of Pharrell's team saying, Shay has requested this. We need to sort this out with you. We'll give you a call. And
I would have
these guys were going. Yeah, these guys were going out of their way. So the conversation I had with the person arranging this, they said, where are you? When are you going to the festival? All of this kind of stuff. We went through our timetables. And their suggestion was, we will get one of Pharrell's security team to go over to the festival site, which is, I don't know, maybe a 20, 30-minute drive away, get the passes for you, bring them back into the city, meet you at a hotel, you can kind of get them all sorted out. And again, I was like, no, nobody needs to go out of their way for me. I will take care of what I need to take care of, and I'll just get there and get them sorted.
Mm-hmm.
So we did all that. We did all I can't speak now. The logistics. We got to the site, and this is where things got really, really, really strange. We get there again. People think people have been told we were coming, and someone was meeting us, and we basically got escorted through the whole of the backstage of the festival. I think they thought we were with the band in some capacity. Obviously not at all.
Right.
But, we got really looked after because they thought we were important. We got taken to the kind of catering tent next to the whole N.E.R.D section, which was all barriered off, so no one could really get in there. I was milling around, about to message Brent actually, and he kind of comes over behind me, and we greet each other and we say hello and we catch up. And then Brent says, let's go through to our dressing room area. I'll introduce you to some of the band and some of the dancers and stuff." And I thought, "Oh shit, this is this is an added bonus. This is great. Like, I'd love to meet the band and, you know, see these guys and some of the dancers. You know, like Meta was there and all of the other dancers." So I thought, this is brilliant. This is amazing. So we go through into the area and we're stood there talking to Brent, and he's introducing me to the band. And my son grabs my arm and says, Daddy, look, Shay's over there." And I sort of turn around, and 20 yards, 30 yards behind me, Shay is stood there talking to somebody. And he's just kind of looking over at us, and not in a good way. And I immediately think, I think, oh shit, he is now not quite as exhausted, and he's realised he doesn't like that interview, or I've wasted his time or something. And I start to panic a little bit. And at that point, Shay kind of, I think, realises it's me that he'd been speaking to earlier. And he just says, "Penny, you guys, get over here." And I'm like, okay. So we kind of walk over. I get there, he just goes in for a hug. And he's just so nice.
That's so dope.
And he's holding a piece of paper as well. And I sort of look down, and my son had drawn them all pictures, and we'd left them at the hotel for them. And he's actually got the picture my son had drawn for him, and he's going around the backstage area showing people the picture that my son had done for him.
That's so amazing. Which
was really sweet. And then he takes the time to like chat to my son. He does all the pictures and stuff. And then again, as we're stood there, we're chatting to Shay and to Brent, and my son goes, Daddy, look, Pharrell's over there. And I'm like, what? And I look over, and there's like Pharrell's dressing room. I hadn't realised we're stood in the middle of all of their dressing rooms.
Yeah.
So I was just kind of my head was all over the place. And you can see Pharrell in his little dressing room kind of pacing backwards and forwards on the phone to somebody. And he kind of comes to the door, and Shay just looks at him and goes, P, get over here now. And Pharrell comes out, and I'm just like, oh, okay, what's going on here? Oh, this is a bit weird. And Shay like introduces us and says, "This is Steve. He's got a podcast about us, and I did an interview with him earlier."
Oh my god!
And I'm just like, oh my god, this guy is like selling me to.
He's bigging it up, yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, this is amazing. And again, I got this initial kind of weird vibe. Pharrell, he did not say a word. He just stood there and looked. And I thought, oh crap, he doesn't want us kind of fans in and around here. This is their private space. Because right next to us was a table. You know, his wife Helen was there. All of his team were there having some food and stuff. And I thought, oh no, he doesn't want us here. This is going to be a bit awkward. And then Shay says to him, look, his son Pessy has drawn us his picture. And Pharrell picks the picture up, and Pharrell is on the picture as well that's been drawn. And he's like, this is amazing. This is so cool. And he bends down to my son. He says thank you to him. He gives him a hug, shakes his hand. And then he kind of gets up and sort of looks at me, and I kind of shake his hand. And I'm like, thank you so much for, letting us in here and stuff. And I start rambling a bit. It's all a bit of a fuzzy memory. But at one point, he starts talking back to me, and he says something along the lines of, I really want to thank you for doing this podcast that you do, for sharing our message, and for being a fan for all these years. And you don't know how we appreciate you and stuff. Man. And at this point, I'm like, oh god, I'm freaking out. Oh god, and I just
get a hold of yourself, Penny. Get a hold of yourself.
I didn't, and I couldn't, and I go back at him, and I'm like, no, it's an honor. Everything your music has meant like so much to me in my life. It means so much to my son and my family. And at that point, I can hear my own voice kind of breaking a little bit, and I'm like, oh shit, I think I'm choking up here. This is getting a bit like,
hey man, it's real, bro.
Yeah, it's real, but it's getting a bit strange. I'm like, I don't want to start choking up in front of him, because he's gonna think, who is this weirdo?
No, man.
So I kind of pull it together, and I'm kind of looking at my girlfriend who's next to me, and I'm like, I think she said afterwards, like, when you looked over, your eyes were like saucers or something, because I was just, there, wide-eyed, mouth open, just like, And yeah, and Pharrell just You know, he shakes my hand, gives me a hug. You know, he says thank you again, and he's like, I'm really sorry, I've got like another phone call I've got to be on, and yeah, he goes off to do that. And I'm just stood there like, what's going on? As he's talking to us as well, I notice, or as he's talking to my son more so than me, Helen, his wife, is behind him taking pictures of him talking to us as well. So again, it's another slightly weird feeling to know that they have pictures of us,
right? Yeah.
And which I'm sure they do on all the stops of the tour and when they interact with different people and stuff.
Sure,
but it's just weird.
Personal memories, because those things aren't even going to be like on any social. Maybe, probably not.
Exactly. Yeah.
Except for the picture. Shout out to Pessy for making it to the freaking N.E.R.D. Instagram.
Yeah. Exactly. And then those guys, they I think it was more Alex than anyone else. I think. Shared Pessy's picture on their Instagram, and I think they shared my name as well, or the podcast name or
they
something.
Did, dude. So that's big.
So yeah, things
big.
bumped up a little bit there.
Yeah.
And then as we were kind of milling around and I was trying to pull myself together, Mike Larson comes out. So people that follow will know Mike is one of Pharrell's engineers. Mm-hmm. We have a quick chat. He gives me his email. Brent convinces him to come on the podcast.
Right.
So we're emailing at the moment to try and get that scheduled. We're then like, oh god, we need to go and like watch the show. We need to go find a spot. So we wander off around the back of the stage. We get to the back of the stage. Brent is there. He stood there with Chad and Meta and the dancers. And my son is like, I hadn't even noticed because I'm in another world. My son is like, Daddy, there's Brent and there's Chad's there as well. And I'm like, oh my god.
I can't take any more of this, man.
Yeah, so I kind of think, play it cool. And I'm like, hey, Brent. And I walk over to speak to Brent. And then Brent's just like, oh, you haven't met Chad, have you? You haven't spoke to Chad? Chad, get over here. Chad comes over.
I love how Brent just is like, hey, get over here. I mean, they have known each other forever, so...
Exactly, yeah, they're all really close and really tight. But yeah, he's just like, come over, meet these guys, and introduces us. And Chad being Chad, he doesn't really say much. He shakes my hand. I'm like, oh, it's a real honor to meet you. And he's just like, oh, yeah, thank you so much. And then he says hello to my son. He does some weird handshake with my son. And even my son was just like, what's going on? What is this? He just freaks everybody out.
In the best way.
In the best way, yeah. In a really good way, in a funny way. And he's there, like, and you see him on this tour. He comes out a lot with the dancers, with Meta and all those guys, and does some like funny dance moves. He's doing that backstage as well. They're all there running up and down the steps, warming up, doing exercises. And Chad is there doing it with them as well.
Classic.
He's really funny. He came across as really down to earth as well, super friendly. So yeah, and then we kind of went round to the front. We stood at the front of the stage, in front of all the crowd with all the other artists. Pharrell came over to our side of the stage. My son waved at him. He gave my son a little wave and a salute back, which kind of made my son's day as well. Mm-hmm. And yeah, just amazing. Now, as you can imagine, with artists that big, as we went around the back of the stage afterwards when it was finished, they've got the kind of SUVs just lined up. They literally come off the stage into the car. There's a police escort there as well, and they're gone basically. Big Ben was there, who I hadn't seen previously.
Shout out to Big Ben.
Shout out Big Ben. I was desperate to try and get a photo with him actually.
He don't probably do photos.
I know. I even said to my girlfriend, I said, "Oh shit, Big Ben's over there." And she's like, "What is a Big Ben? What?" I think she thought I was going mad. And I was like, no, there's Big Ben over there, like Pharrell's security guy. And he was just stood there like mean mugging everyone. Because people were still trying to grab little autographs and stuff as he was getting in the car. And I was like, oh God, do I shout out to Ben? Do I go over? And kind of as I was debating what to do, he actually got in the car with Pharrell, and they all just left basically. So I missed the opportunity that day, but yeah.
What an experience, man.
It was surreal to say the least. Yes. Yeah. And even talking about it now, I'm just like, oh my God,
Yeah.
So yeah, I have to say, like, I think I said this in my post and stuff, and I may have said it on the interview podcast as well. But I got to say a big shout out to like all of the team that work with Pharrell and N.E.R.D, Corey and Alex, and to all the guys we met, the band, the dancers, Mike, everyone that was there. Everyone was just surprisingly overly friendly. Everyone was, these guys are touring musicians and superstars and Grammy Award winners and whatever they all are. And every one of them was just like, it's so nice to meet you. Handshakes, hugs, chatting to my son, asking him his name and asking him stuff. Just overly, overly nice. So, just a massive shout out to all those that helped actually make it possible, I guess.
Yeah, and I was telling people, close friends of mine who, are also fans who follow myself, yourself, David, and whoever else is on, Instagram, who's really about, for lack of a better word, about that life. And it's just, you thank all of them. You thank Brent and everybody who helps you get to, experience something like that. But all of us, man, all of us normies, quote unquote normies, we thank you, man. We thank you. We thank David. We really, the whole idea that there even is a podcast out here that is, a local, not a local thing, but, just something that we decided to start doing. And it's, something other than Othertone, on a lower scale that more people can interact with and just kind of immerse themselves in and be a part of and actually be a part of. Talk to the people who are putting it together, have input, be involved. It's keeping the love for this culture that is turning into, just on the surface, turning into a big hype beast dick measuring contest. And it's kind of sad, but to know that we have things like this podcast, that are really for the fans and nobody else. It's just
exactly
it's good to know that.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
It's all for the fans, and Shay was very appreciative of it. He thanked myself and thanked all of the people listening and stuff, and as did Pharrell as well. And I have to also say a shout out to you, because when I got that interview booked, I think you were the second person maybe I messaged and was just like, I've got this, give me your ideas for questions or something, and you sent me back a bunch of stuff to potentially ask, and I think that tied in with a lot of stuff I was going to ask anyway. So there's a portion of that input for that interview that actually came from yourself as well, so shout out to you.
And guys, whoever's listening to this right now, man, I don't think you guys understand. First of all, if you haven't listened to this interview, unfollow StarTrakWorld, unfollow Stephen Penny, unfollow other, because you're asleep. This interview was posted, a couple weeks ago, would you say?
Yeah, a few weeks ago now, I think, yeah.
You guys need to listen to this interview. It's special, man, because like you said earlier, he doesn't do interviews. So this is truly special, and if you have not tuned in already, you're asleep, and you got to wake up, because it's cool, it's dope, and it's great. And Steve did it, man. He did it. I think someone posted something on it might have been David who posted something like, he made it, or he did it, or something like that.
I think that was Dave, yeah.
It's just like...
But that's what this podcast has been about. It's been about, us fans getting to talk each week or each couple of weeks, and just, again, there is a pun intended because I'm saying it before I say the word, but, to nerd out and to chat about this stuff that we don't necessarily... I know I don't get to chat about this stuff with any kind of friends or family here in Finland.
Mm-hmm.
So it's great to be able to kind of interact with those people that we only see sort of via social media each day.
Right.
And the goal was eventually to try and get some of these guys that we nerd out about to actually come and talk to us and tell us how they do stuff, why they do stuff, what their processes are.
It didn't take that long. I mean,
whatever it may be, yeah.
You started the pod. You started this like not even a year ago, right?
Yeah, way less than a year ago. And again, a massive thanks goes to Brent, because I interviewed Brent originally like 2 or 3 years ago for another website I had. So if you go to superhelsinki.com, I think you can find the original interview with Brent there.
It's good stuff.
And we kept in touch, throughout the years. He's absolutely lovely, top guy. And he made a lot of this kind of happen over the summer. He got us to the festival initially. Obviously he's done another interview for this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
When the new album came out, he was like, call me, we need to talk about it. What your thoughts, feelings. And these are the guys that I look up to, that we look up to.
Yeah.
And it's great to know that all of our comments and our feedback and thoughts and feelings about their work isn't just going into
right,
into space or into the dark, deep hole that is social media. They are listening to this stuff. Mm-hmm. And they do really appreciate it.
Yeah, because that's the thing about being fans of anybody for that matter. With social media, it's become so easy to try and make contact with a celebrity, but the problem is billions of people are on these socials, so it's like even though it is easier, it's harder at the same time. And
exactly,
but I think
you're shouting out into the ether, aren't you?
Right. No, you are. But I think, like you said, real people can sense real. That saying, real recognize real. So it's like when you're a real fan of anybody, I mean, people are going to notice the authenticity. They're going to know that you're not just, out here trying to get a photo or a autograph so you can resell it and make money. Like, they know. You can tell. So, when I went to see N.E.R.D. and I was pulled on stage, like I was the first person that P picked out of all of the, like, he invited like maybe 5 other people to the stage. And like all the other people that he invited on stage went to the back. They were like clamoring with like fear and super scared. I was like, what? I'm like, I'm never going to get this opportunity again. So, I mean, I mention it all the time only because it was like the best day of my life. Like, I don't think I'll ever, that was the best day of my life. And like,
and I got to say as well, on this tour as well, I think they've been very,
super inclusive.
I guess accessible is maybe the word, or more accessible than maybe they have been previously. Because I know there's actually quite a lot of listeners to the podcast that have actually got to see them, speak to them, interact with them this summer. I'm trying to think of names now and I'm going blank. I know like Raphael, who I'll be seeing actually in Spain in a couple of weeks. He was up on stage with them in Barcelona. He messaged me afterwards, literally this string of like 20 messages where he was so excited.
It's so
and then
dull.
sending me the pictures, the videos. And that's like, that was a lifelong dream for him. And I know Heiser was up on stage kind of earlier in the year or something. Some other people met them in London after the Lovebox show or before the Lovebox show a couple of weeks back as well.
Yeah.
So it's really good that they're being this kind of accessible, and that us kind of real fans are actually getting to meet them, not just the kind of groupie kind of wanna be hangers oners,
Well, I mean, it's like, I guess if I went to because I told myself like I'm not. I mean, I've seen the live show now multiple times via the internet and or just through whatever. And if I went to a live show, that would be the exchange. The exchange would be being able to be on stage, hopefully, because as far as the set list goes, I mean, okay, like, it's cool, but I'd rather see them in a intimate setting, or get their songs that I, haven't heard performed live in years.
And just on that note, just very quickly, sorry to jump in.
No, you're good. No,
because somebody did ask me for the set list. So hold on 1 second.
Well,
I have. So Brent actually gave me some of their paperwork and stuff here.
Exclusive.
Yeah, so I have the set list here, which I probably will get framed or something at some point along with some of these pictures. But someone did specifically ask me what the set list is at the moment. So really, really quickly, they come out to Antimatter, Killjoy, Deep Down Body first. Then there's a bit of a medley, which on that night, and I think it's this pretty much the same on all the shows. It's Stir Fry, Grindin', Pasta Cavoisier, Drop It Like It's Hot, Neon Guts. Neon Guts sounded brilliant. Actually, hearing that over a system, I'd never heard it on a big stage like that.
So good.
So good. And then All Right, Kendrick Lamar. Again, it sounded brilliant. Then it goes into Spaz, Rollin' Them Sevens, 1000, Kites, Everyone Knows. Bit more of a medley. So you got Finna, Hollaback Girl, Hot in Here, Blurred Lines, Get Lucky. That only goes on for a couple of minutes.
Good.
And then it's She Wants to Move, which has, yeah, good, yeah. She Wants to Move, which ties in, they do the Seven Nation Army kind of remix version they do, where they play that. Then it just goes into, like Rockstar. There's a gap where they get a couple of people on stage. I think they only got one person on stage at this show, who was a guy right at the front. And then Lap Dance, and then it finishes on Lemon, which I think they did twice or maybe even 3 times in fact. But Lemon's just kind of Lap Dance is the last big one. Lemon, they do it big at first, and then they just kind of step back and let Meta and the dancers and stuff kind of take center stage for that.
Yeah.
So it's not a bad set list, but it is a very
surface
it
level.
is it's a festival set list.
Yeah,
put it that
of course. I mean, that's the thing. Like, I get in my feelings like about it. No Drake reference there. Just I get in my feelings about it because I'm selfish with that type of thing. But it makes sense. I mean, the set list makes sense. Can you imagine them sitting down and doing Wonderful World like at a festival? Like people be like, no, like I don't want no energy. So
but that's the thing. I think they've learned because they many years ago they were doing that at festivals.
Yep.
They were doing the live show stuff on festival stages, and it's not that it didn't work, but you go to certain audiences in certain places, and Finland's one of those countries where the people are just quite reserved anyway. Mm-hmm. You're not going to get everybody jumping up and down, even to the big songs. So when you get into the slower stuff, you're just not getting anything back, no matter how much people actually enjoy it or like the song. So these are all songs where they just keep the energy up, they keep it ticking over. They're all good songs, but I think if you went to see them live in a more kind of intimate setting, you would get a very, very, very different set list.
Take my money. I don't think it's going to happen, but take my money. I'm ready.
I've heard some rumors. I won't say more than that at the moment, but I've heard some rumors. So there we go. And if I hear any more,
it's crazy though, because like I remember I posted on my Instagram about StarTrakWorld Instagram, but like I posted on there a clip of Pharrell taking questions from, I forgot what it was for, but someone asked, are you going to be doing a tour after you do all the festival runs? And he was like, yes. And I will never let that. I will never let that clip down. Like I will always rewatch that clip. Like it's okay. He might come to Detroit. If he comes anywhere near Detroit, I'm there. It's not even a question. So.
Yeah, I think the problem you have at this stage is just you've got 3 very different people that front that group. One of them stays out of the spotlight completely. Yeah. The other one is very much a family man. The third, who is Pharrell, has probably 50 odd projects going on at any one time. It's just, I even know that this festival tour, there were, let's say, some issues in it. I think maybe nearly didn't happen at one point. A lot of stuff was changed and switched, and a lot of it was kind of quite last minute.
Yeah.
And I know even when they did the very first show, the Complex Con show, where they kind of premiered the album, that was meant to be completely different that was not meant to be anything like it was. But just because of logistics and the way things work, and they had to just switch it all up, and it was all very, very last minute, although it kind of worked. But there's so many moving parts with this kind of stuff. And even when you think like, oh yeah, small like US tour, like that can't be that, you know, demanding or that big of a thing to do. It's the logistics involved with a band like that, and
flying,
everything that goes on around them. There's a huge amount that goes into it. But yeah, I've heard positive things from people so far in terms of another tour, but
we'll see.
I'm not 100% sure. Yeah,
time will tell.
Yes. All right. Well, we've gone over an hour. In fact, I've rambled for quite some time. So I guess we should probably wrap it up there.
Absolutely.
So where can people find yourselves online if they want to come and follow you and see all things Star Trek related?
Well, you heard it in the beginning, in the middle, and now I'm going to cap it off with StarTrakWorld. No funny spelling, just straight up StarTrakWorld. You will notice if you found the right one, you'll notice it is a globe with the Star Trek symbol in the middle. And you have found the right one.
That's it. I'll put a link in the show notes as well, so people can listen to the podcast, click the link, and go straight there and find you as well. But yes, if you are a fan, then you should obviously be following StarTrakWorld on Instagram. That goes without saying. As for this podcast, you can go to @Otherz Podcast on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. You can get all of the information about the podcast and previous episodes and whatever else you may need from the website, which is theotherz.net. That's obviously Others with a Z. We do have that weird spelling. That's what the cool kids do. And you can find me at Steve R. Penny on Instagram. If you want to support the podcast, you can go to patreon.com/others, others with a Z. And it also has all of our links and information and bits and pieces there. But I guess that's it for now. So we will say bye-bye and we'll speak to you next time, everyone. Bye-bye.
Peace.